Welcome to the February 16th meeting of the Folsom Cordova Unified School District Board of Education. Superintendent, will you take the roll?
Yes, Ms. Perez is absent, Ms. Srivastava is absent, Mr. Clark,
Here.
Mr. Hui,
Here.
Ms. Larrett,
Here.
Ms. Lofthouse. Here. Mr. Reed.
Here. And I will note for the record that Mr. Hui is attending virtually tonight. All right, before we go into closed session and the items that we would be going into closed session for would be student matters, employer-employee relations, consultation with the legal counsel, and I don't have that. Conference with legal counsel, conference with real property negotiators, and personnel matters. Is there any public comment before we go into closed session? No, Mr. Reed. All right. Hearing none, we will be recessing to close session. We'll be back at 6 p.m. sharp. We are in recess. Welcome to the February 16th meeting of the Folsom Cordova Unified School District Board of Education. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the presentation of colors and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Presenting the colors for tonight's meeting, please welcome 10th Cavalry Buffalo Soldiers of Northern California.
Present home.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Home. Right. Hey. Forward. Hard. Detail. Hold. Right. Hey. Color guard. Dismiss.
Wow, that was a treat. I like that. A broadcast statement. A A broadcast and recording is being made at the direction of the board, and the broadcast may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting. The meeting is being live streamed on the district's YouTube channel. Folsom Cordova Unified School District Board Policy 1313 promotes mutual respect, civility, and orderly conduct among employees, parents, and the public. We will treat staff, parents, and members of the public with respect and expect the same in return. If any member of the public uses obscenities or communicates in a demanding, loud, insulting, and/or demeaning manner, the board will calmly and politely admonish the person to communicate civilly. Public comments during board meetings are an important component of public engagement and transparency. Members of the public will not be permitted to yield their speaking time to another member of the public. All written comments submitted by 3 p.m. today to the board have been read. Per the Brown Act, the board is not allowed to enter into a two-way discussion on any matter that is not on the agenda. At the direction of the board, the superintendent will call roll, acknowledging the board received all electronic comments submitted as it pertains to today's board meeting. I will note that Board Member Hui will be joining us remotely tonight, and Board Member Perez has an excused absence for tonight. Superintendent, please call the roll.
Yes. Ms. Srivastava?
Here.
Mr. Clark?
Here.
Mr. Hui?
Here.
Ms. Larrett? Here. Ms. Lofthouse? Here. And Mr. Reed?
Here.
All are accounted for. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Reporting out of closed session. Superintendent,
There's no action to report out of closed session this evening, President Reed.
thank you. That takes us to agenda item 6, adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Move it.
Motion by Board Member Clark. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Larrett. Superintendent, take the roll.
Yes, Ms. Srivastava?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Ms. Larrett?
Here.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
And Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right. Agenda item 7, special presentations. Superintendent.
Yes, this evening we have a special presentation to recognize the folks from the Northern California Buffalo Soldier Chapter of 10th Cavalry Company G, who led us in the posting of the colors and the flag salute. And this is an extra special presentation, and I do want to read some of the background of this special recognition this evening. In honor of Black History Month, Folsom Cordova honors the Northern California Buffalo Soldiers for their significant contributions to American history. We would also like to recognize our very own Gerald Worley from Kinney High School, who is a lifetime member of the NorCal Buffalo Soldiers. Mr. Worley, also known as Trooper Worley, has been a member of Team FCUSD for 19 years. He is also a descendant of one of the original Buffalo Soldiers, Mr. Moses Lucas. Trooper Worley brought the Buffalo Soldiers presentation to Kinney High School, where students learned about their rich history and left with the inspiration to pursue both educational and personal goals. Little bit of history that I think is worth reading. I know it's in the agenda item, but I do want to share this with our public. In 1866, after the Civil War ended, millions of Black Americans were hoping to start a new life of freedom. At the same time, Congress, for the first time, allowed African Americans to serve in the regular Army in the United States efforts to rebuild the country and pursue westward expansion. The recruits came from various backgrounds, including former slaves and veterans of the Civil War. The Congressional Act created 6 all-Black United States Army units. These units were identified as the 9th and 10th Cavalry and the 38th, 39th, 40th, and 41st Infantry Regiments. As such, Black Americans joined the Army as a way to provide for their families, and servicemen were only paid $13 a month, which was less than their white counterparts. Throughout the era of the Indian Wars, approximately 20% of the U.S. cavalry troopers were Black, and they fought over 177 engagements. The combat prowess, bravery, tenacity, and looks on the battlefield inspired the Native Americans to call these servicemen Buffalo Soldiers. The name symbolized the Native Americans' respect for the Buffalo Soldiers' bravery and valor. Buffalo Soldiers, through the years, have worn this name with pride. And it is with pride and honor that we honor the Northern California chapter of the Buffalo Soldiers, and our board would like to present you with a special certificate. So if we could all come on down and we'll present this certificate.
Gentlemen, may I invite you to come up to the dais? I would love to get a picture of you and also with you. Yes, please.
Maybe I could get it from up here.
Please, yes. Come on, yes.
Oh,
Right
they're
here.
gonna be that facing.
Yes, they're all good.
You had me in the picture. I wish I could move this out of the way.
So if I may read this certificate, this is a certificate
Can
of
we move this?
recognition presented from the Folsom Cordova Unified School District Board of Education to the Northern California Buffalo Soldiers chapter of 10th Cavalry Company G for bravery, valor, and the many contributions to American history. Would like to present this to Trooper Willie. And to the rest of the chapter.
Wonderful. And I'm just going to give you absolutely. I'll give you just a quick 1, 2, 3. If you wouldn't mind looking up here for me, please. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna give you a 3, 2, 1.
Oh, you know.
2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that takes us, well, no other presentations, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
That will take us to public comment. This is the point in the agenda where anybody who wishes to speak is welcome. We have a 3-minute time limit. And this is where you speak if you are not speaking on an item that is not on the agenda. If you're here to speak on an item that is on the agenda, there will be an opportunity to speak associated with that item when we get to it. Looks like we have 3 public comments. Let's see, the first is Erica, Kitty, and Sarah. Alexander, oh, I guess that's their last name. So Erica Alexander, Kitty White, and Sarah Cavero. Welcome.
Welcome, school board members, and good evening, district staff. We're happy to be here. I have to say this is the first time I've been here when there hasn't been a lot of people here, so doing public speaking with fewer people is kind of nice. You agree? Who is Sarah Cavero? Eric Alexander. I am Kitty White. I work at Kinney High School and Prospect High School. I recently was at Cordova High School for almost 23 years. So we wanted to kind of just let you guys know what is happening at the alternative ed sites when it comes to counseling, and kind of give you some oversight, not oversight, just what we're doing. And I was just going to mention when we were talking earlier about a student of mine. So I started in October, so I haven't been there for very long. But having a school that's smaller, our students get a lot more individual attention. And I have one student in particular who was a homeless student, and she graduated midterm, so she finished in December, and really needed a place to stay and wanted to go to college. So I was able to with a small caseload, help her do her college application, help her finish her FAFSA, and we were able to apply for housing at Sierra College, where she is now housed and at school. I was a little worried at first because trying to get housing in the middle of school year, I thought, oh, it may not happen, but we did it. And so she is happy at Sierra College, and that's just some of the things we do. I also wanted to read some things that our students say at the end. At Kinney, it's a little different because they can graduate at any time because of their credits can be earned every 3 weeks. And we have them do a survey at the end. And this is some of the things that our students say about our school. And what helps them. They say, show up and pay attention. Obviously, attendance matters. The teachers are very caring, and that this school at this small site was exactly what they needed. So I'll go on to next. I didn't take all of your time, I hope.
Well, actually, if, are all three of you speaking?
Yes.
Because you all would have 3 minutes each, given the fact you could have issued, given.
Do you want 3 minutes each?
I don't think so, but that makes me feel a lot better.
I'll reset them.
I don't know if I need 3 minutes. So good evening, board members and FCUSD colleagues. This is my first time at a board meeting, so thank you for having me. My name is Sarah Cavero. This is my 18th year as a high school counselor. I was previously a counselor in San Francisco Unified School District for 12 years and then moved here to Folsom, Cordova. This year, I'm a part-time counselor at Walnutwood High School, and I also case manage and counsel students with 504 accommodation plans at Mitchell Middle School. Walnutwood, as you know, is an alternative site. We're located on the same campus as Innovations Academy and Folsom Cordova Adult School. At Walnutwood, we also have the home hospital and adolescent parenting program. Our students at Walnutwood come from all over the area, including our comprehensive sites, Folsom High School, Vista Del Lago, and Cordova. Students choose to come to independent studies for various reasons, including respite from social pressures, need for a flexibility to pursue their strengths and passions, help to care for sick family members. We have students that need the flexibility to work to contribute to their family income. And then also just the flexibility that independent studies can provide. We have a lot of alternative resources to serve our students while meeting the standards. You may be familiar with our adolescent parenting program where where pregnant and parenting youth can come to earn their high school diploma in a flexible and supportive learning environment. I am proud to have implemented the student assessment program at Walnutwood. It was something that I did in San Francisco Unified that I felt would be a great tool at Walnutwood. I've been doing it for 4 years. Our group meets every Friday to address the needs of struggling students for various things like mental health, physical health, housing, relationships, academics, etc. Our team is made up of myself, the school principal, our mental health counselor, school nurse, and school psychologist. So far this year, we have addressed the diverse needs of 75 students. Another important role at Walnutwood is forging great relationships with our local community colleges and Sac State. Collaboratively, we provide students with admissions information, helping students apply to college, exploring college majors, career technical programs, and working really diligently to get students FAFSA and CATA applications completed. This is what we're doing right now in the spring. Thank you.
You did need 3 minutes.
I did.
You did. Good job. Is that okay?
Yep.
All right, here we go.
Thank you.
So my name is Erica Alexander, and I am part-time at Innovations 3 days a week, and 2 days a week I'm filling in at Folsom Lake High School. And it's been a lot of fun, and so I just want to share a little bit about Innovations. Sophia's going to talk a little bit about Folsom Lake. But our school is really unique. It's the first K through 12 school in the district, and that's all online. And what's really cool about our school is that we just got WASC accredited and we're A to G approved, and it's so awesome because we're just still so new. So that's really excited. But what's really neat is that I'm the only counselor in the district that serves our elementary students, because we don't have an elementary counselor. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about what I do besides all the things I do for high school and middle school kids. So I get to do we have all online. So I know these kids are like craving social interaction. They're probably scared to death of it, but they are craving it. And they come, I do a space cave twice a month, and we're kids who, according to ages, will come in, and a lot of kids are coming every week. I get scared that when they come, because there's a bigger group that's showing up, and we just have a lot of fun together, and they're so excited, and some of them just giggle the whole time, and I think it's because they're not out of their houses enough. I don't know, but it's just, I can see their excitement. I get to know these kids, and so I get to do SEL groups with them. I get to use the panorama data and do targeted groups, and they trust me and they know me because I play with them and I have fun with them. And so that's something that's just really cool that I feel like I get the unique ability to do with them, and it's just been a really neat thing. And I also do a lunch bunch with them, and we during their lunches we eat and we play games and we joke and we tell lots of jokes. And then we also we do every other week, we alternate with SEL activities, so I include that as well. So it's just really neat having a smaller school, getting to have the little kids and the big kids, and we also are starting a tutoring mentoring where our older kids are tutoring our younger kids. And so that's just been really cool to be part of that. And so, yeah, that's pretty much some of the stuff that we're doing. That's all. Nice. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and greetings.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, next we have Sophia Montez. Welcome.
Good evening, board members and district team. First, I want to thank everybody for their dedication and service to our district. My name is Sophia Montez, and this is my second year in the school district. I am currently at Folsom High School as a counselor, but last year I was at Folsom Lake High School. Although I am now a proud Bulldog, I am here to talk about Folsom Lake High School. As I'm sure most of you know, Folsom Lake High School is one of the 2 continuation schools in our district and has gone through some major changes in the last couple of years. It now is situated on Folsom High's campus and serves about 70 students who are all juniors and seniors. The Folsom Lake counselor role is officially vacant, but students are currently served by the 5 counselors at Folsom High School, including myself, as well as Miss Erica Alexander back here, who serves our students 2 days a week. After Folsom Lake moved, the school's mission changed, and it became, through personalized support, Folsom Lake High School provides an inclusive educational community that fosters resilience and academic success. This is where the role of the counselor comes in and why it is so important. The majority of Folsom Lake students enroll at the school due to 2 reasons, either credit deficiency or because they need a smaller setting. Our ratios at Folsom Lake High School are 1 to 25 versus 1 to 37 at the comprehensive sites. Many of our students have experienced personal and academic challenges. Our students need structure, routine, and consistent patient adult advocates. These supports reflect effective trauma-informed care that all of our students so seriously need. Being a counselor at Folsom Lake High School, or really any of the alternative sites, as my colleagues have mentioned, present a really unique opportunity to work closely with each student and develop individualized educational roadmaps. At Folsom Lake, we call them grad plans, and offer the students social and emotional support that they need the most. Counselors are able to fill a role that is difficult for other authoritative figures to fill, such as our school administrators. A counselor is able to serve these students by being an educational guide, an advocate, a sounding board, a confidant, and sometimes just a voice of reason. A dedicated counselor is able to provide students with the tools, resources, and information that they need most. And at Folsom High School, this comes at an extremely pivotal point right before they're about to enter the world and leave high school behind them. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, we have Jeanette Sansenbein. Welcome.
So, good evening, Jeanette Sansenbach, Senator Gallardo. So I'm just up here for two reasons. The first one is to thank the CNI team and the testing department for allowing sites to control their testing timelines and to make those decisions at the site level. Truly a local control decision. A special thanks to Angie for the conversations that we've had over the last couple of weeks since the last board meeting. So I just wanted to update you. Secondly, I was doing my lesson plans this evening before I came to the board meeting and for next week. And I noticed that I'm not teaching much at the elementary school level. I have 2 days off for Monday and Tuesday because of the holidays. Wednesday's a full day. Thursday is our short minimum day because of our common planning time. And then Friday we get out super minimum day because we're trying to do report cards. Not much is going on. I mean, I'm teaching, but very short and concise. There are other school districts around us that have next week off. So that's something, I know that calendars are starting to go ahead and come up as a discussion. So it's just something that I thought I'd throw out there. Thanks.
Ski week. All right. Do we have any public comments online? All right. So that takes us then to agenda item 9, reports of district organizations. The first is the Student Advisory Board.
Thank you. Just a short one tonight. SAB is holding a youth mixer next Wednesday at Cordova Lane Center from 4 to 6 p.m. Open to all students interested in helping to organize our district-wide international night, which we are very excited about. It's on April 26th. So next Wednesday is a great opportunity for students to meet other students who go to different schools and also plan performances, brainstorm ideas, and we hope to see you there. And we also released our first SAB newsletter, which you can find on the SAB website. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we have the California School Employees Association. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Robert Korn. I'm the president, CSEA 528. Not much to report right now. We do have negotiations coming up next week, which we hope will be beneficial to both sides. Nothing to report at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have the Folsom Cordova Education Association. Welcome.
Hey, good evening, board members and Dr. Kaligian. Short report tonight, but then a couple of things came up. So, Innovations Academy with the WASC accreditation, that's just fabulous. So that was really good news. I'm glad they got through that. I've been through those before myself, and it's intense. So that was really great. And also happy to hear about the sites getting some autonomy on the testing. I think that's huge. Thank you so much, Angie, for that one. So let's see, we've been doing some work with our sites that are slated for community schools, just kind of meeting with them, talking to them, letting them know a little more about the program, and we're just there to support and gather information, help them through the process as much as we can. We're all learning this year. We've had some really good site visits as well in the last couple of weeks. We've done Innovations, Walnutwood, and the adult school, and of course, Innovations and Walnutwood are just amazing. Great alternatives for our students that need something outside that traditional classroom. Adult ed, I think everybody here has been there to visit. It's just amazing. It's such a great resource, and it's like a little hidden resource in the community. So many good things going on at the adult ed school, and we're even benefiting from it in our district because we're getting some paras that are trained and getting the education and coming back in our schools. And I think the only other thing, actually, sorry, two things. One of the highlights of site visits was Folsom Middle this week, where I got to see a couple of my students that I had back in kindergarten. They're now 8th graders and thriving, and huge, big boys with facial hair. It was crazy, but I recognized them right away. They were adorable, and it was exciting. And I just want to take a moment to thank our counselors for coming out tonight. Thank you so much. I know you've been hearing from them throughout the district, and we do have a formal presentation coming up at one of the board meetings next month as well, just to give you a little more background. So that's it for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Folsom Cordova Leadership Association. Welcome.
Hi. Good evening, Board President Reed, Dr. Kaligian, and members of the board. Tonight's report, we're going to focus on a few things. February is National Black History Month, and school sites are remembering and paying tribute through a variety of ways. Some of these include unique library displays, literature studies, and advisory lessons honoring the important contributions African Americans have made to our country and culture. This week is also Kindness Week. School sites and departments celebrated through Spirit dress-up days. Today was Wear White for encouragement at mine. We did lunchtime activities and kindness dares. We're all trying to do our part to make our learning communities kind and caring spaces. And last, I'd like to share what we call the Beyond the Bell moment. So Beyond the Bell is when someone goes above and beyond to either make a connection or ensure students have everything they need. Jim Snow, Director of Transportation, goes beyond the bell daily. He leads by example and is willing to jump in and do the work that he asks his team to do, which includes regularly driving the routes when there is staff challenges. Thank you, Jim, for going above and beyond to make sure our students are at school learning. Thanks.
Thank you. And finally, we have the District English Learner Advisory Committee. Welcome.
Good evening, Dr. Superintendent, Dr. Sarah Kaligian. Sorry, I got to get it out there. You know, long legs, thank goodness. Just got to get there. Good morning, or good evening. I'm still not doing it. Good evening, Dr. Kaligian, President Reed, members of the board, and my esteemed colleagues. I think I did it. I do have a brief report tonight. Thank you for your patience with me. Just a couple of updates. Most of you I've seen many of you at our data walks or at different events, so I'm just going to do a little recap. On February 4th, we had our Parent Summit at Cordova Lane Center. Many of my colleagues, Superintendent Kaligian was present. I saw Mr. Chris Clark, just a wonderful event. And I want to shout out a couple of things, just the opportunity to hear, of course, from the voices of our parents and to hear their thoughts was really always a wonderful moment, and to really give them the stage to share their thoughts. I also want to shout out Mr. Chris Clark. Thank you. That was quite a fun way to just get everybody engaged. Mr. Chris Clark and your wife were donated some bikes, 2 bikes, and I want to call it an Alexa Globe. What would you? Echo, thank you. That's right. Parents were excited. There was some fun competitions. We quizzed them on the dashboard. That was a fun thing to do. Thank you for that. Lots of comments keep coming on the data walk, so that's still open on the thought exchange. We had, of course, the February 8th and 9th, and the reason why I mention it in the DLAC report is because many of the ELAC parents are present with their school teams, with school site council, so the principals on both the Rancho and Folsom side participated and brought their teams. So it was wonderful to see them. Some of the parents had already been to the summit and had a little bit of what we call a preview to the data walk, which was nice. And then just recently this week on Valentine's Day, I set a meeting on Valentine's Day. I won't do that again. But we did have our DLAC meeting. Most attendees were online, but we had several in the room, and we had an opportunity to revisit the data. There was some questions, some comments, some thoughts, and some asks of DLAC to bring some information on dual language programs at a future meeting for them to be informed about. And I'll close with that in April, we will have our 3rd and final for the year Parent Summit. April is on a Tuesday night. Normally our summits are on Saturday, but in the springtime, our parents are asked that we do it on a weeknight. So that again will be April 25th on a Tuesday night. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to agenda item 10, agenda consent. Before I entertain a motion, are there any items on the consent agenda that a board member wants to pull? All right, hearing none, is there a motion?
Move it.
Motion by Mr. Clark, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Lofthouse. Superintendent, will you take the roll?
Yes, Ms. Srivastava?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Ms. Larrett?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Okay. Agenda item 11, discussion and action. Before I get there was no introductions tonight, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, CSBA Delegate Assembly Election. Superintendent.
Yes, we have an opportunity as a school board to vote for the delegate assembly members that are coming up in this spring's election. We have to return our ballot by March 15th. Ballots are counted up and decisions will be reported back to our region by May. But we did make a nomination for Board Member Kara Lofthouse as one of our delegate assembly members, and her name is officially on the ballot, the CSBA ballot, as well as another board member from Natomas Unified, Cindy Coralti. So tonight, the board has the opportunity to vote for the ballot as it is. However, there are 5 vacancies in Region 6B, and as a board, you also have the opportunity to provide a write-in candidate from our own board or not. So we have the 2 on the ballot for sure, and you can vote on it as is or discuss the option of also including a write-in candidate.
Is it unusual, Board Member Clark, to have vacancies?
It is unusual, but from what I understand, there may be more nominations that'll go throughout Region 6 in the delegates. So we're just one of 3 so far that have made those nominations.
Is there any limit to how many board members can serve on the delegate assembly?
From this board, normally in the past, we have had 2. Right now, we have 1. I would still consider myself part of the delegate assembly, even though now I'm a director. But I know there has been conversations in the past that we, as a district, try to stay away from having 3 board members, just for reasons such as Brown Act violations, possible Brown Act violations. And I think, right now, 2 should suffice from us, but that would be up to the discretion of the board. And then once it goes to election, that would be up to the discretion of Region 6 delegates to make that vote.
And Mr. Clark, I would guess that part of the nominations not put on there was in my case, it was only a temporary nomination to fulfill a vacancy where the spring nominations were going to be happening later, especially with the new boards coming on board. So we were sort of in a different place than many boards because we had a vacancy due to the way that our election rolled out.
Correct.
Okay.
And these terms are for 2 years, and the term would start in 2023. There are 5 vacancies in 6B, so if you're asking how many delegate assembly positions 6B can have, you can see that if we want to scroll to that page, you can see the ones that are returning, that their terms expire in 2023, and those that are 2024, and then the vacant terms. I think Rochelle's going to try to pull that up.
I could have pulled it up.
So those are the rest of those that are currently serving in delegate assembly, and then the vacant terms.
Yeah, 3. That's what I thought.
Okay, so I guess the question for the board is, do you want to approve it as it is here, or is there any board member that wishes to submit a name to the for one of the vacancies?
Mr. President, I would like to submit it the way that it is right now.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Clark. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Ms. Lorette. Superintendent, please take the roll.
Ms. Srivastava?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Ms. Lorette?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse? Aye. Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Motion carries with the names currently on the ballot. And congratulations, Kara, moving forward.
All right, that takes us to agenda item 12, discussion. The first item is Assembly Bill 2449, requirement for public meeting by teleconference. Superintendent.
Yes, so Assembly Bill 2449 went into effect January 1st, 2023. I'm going to ask Shannon Diaz to come to the podium too, because I'm going to tag team with her and thank her too for helping put the information together. But with this, it gives us a little bit more flexibility on the attendance of board members at board meetings between now and 2026, more flexibility than the Brown Act was providing us. And I want to thank Ms. Diaz for putting together a comparison chart because it shows us what the Brown Act's requirements and criteria are, and then what AB 361 requirements were that, you know, are going to be expiring, and then AB 2449, which are effective January 2023 through 2026. So if we can pull that chart up, it might be easier to talk about the comparison and what's changed. And not a lot has changed since AB 361. But I would like to call your attention to the areas that really have changed. And it's more for the definition of board members and where they can attend the meetings and when they have opportunity to be excused from a board meeting for either just cause or emergency circumstances. So if you look at that far right column, it says that we have relaxed teleconferencing rules when a board member needs to attend a board meeting remotely for just cause or emergency circumstances. And there's definition there from the legislation that defines just cause as a family, child care, or caregiving need, a contagious illness, a need related to a physical or mental disability that is not otherwise accommodated, and travel while on other public business, or official public business. The emergency circumstances definition is defined as a physical or family emergency that prevents a member from appearing in person. However, the quorum requirement under this Assembly Bill is that a quorum of the board must still participate within the district's boundaries. And there's a limitation on the number of meetings that a board member can be excused for just cause. It's no more than 2 meetings per calendar year per board member. And for either reason, the emergency or the just cause, no more than 3 meetings or 20% of the regular meetings.
Dr. Clegan, could I make one correction?
Sure.
For either reason, it's no more than 3 consecutive months.
Oh, 3 consecutive months.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I will fix that and redistribute it to the board.
Okay. The criteria for public participation looks very similar to what we have been doing under AB 361. The previous Assembly Bill and the current Assembly Bill 2449 still states that there's no obligation to permit public participation from the teleconference location, must provide either a 2-way audiovisual system or 2-way phone service in addition to live casting through YouTube. That part is new. And then the other 2 bullets are remaining as they were. We must ensure if there is a technical disruption, the board takes no further action until that public access is restored. And it does say avoid requiring public comments to be submitted in advance and provide a real-time option for the public to provide comment or address the board at the meeting. But our understanding is we still have the flexibility to do that and can continue doing the interaction with the public as we have been doing it under AB 2449. So on Folsom, Cordova, what we have been doing is we've been giving the public an opportunity to participate through the Google form 24 hours before the meeting, and then also virtually calling in or calling into the Zoom link, and then also in person. And we can continue that if that's the board's wishes, but it is allowable under the Assembly Bill. And then the last one is notification requirements. Can we scroll down, Rochelle, please? Notification requirements for board member to attend remotely. The one piece that's new is that the board member must notify the board at the earliest possible opportunity of their need to participate remotely. And it doesn't occur very often on our board, but it's just, this is for all boards in the state of California. So we know if there's been a situation, our board members have been very responsive, but this does make that a point. And then the last bullet in that one is board member must make a separate request for each meeting in which they seek to participate remotely. And then lastly, the agenda requirements, we must identify a call-in or internet-based access option in addition to our in-person location, but there's no obligation to identify the board member's remote location as we used to do under the Brown Act, posting the address and so forth. Ms. Diaz, would you like to add any other clarification or anything I missed?
I don't think you missed anything, but I did want to clarify, under just cause, when it, one of the reasons is, travel while on official public business. That's, official public business of this board or another state or local agency.
Thank you for clarifying that.
All right, questions from the board?
Thanks for the clarification on that. And I know through our board of directors with CSBA, we had no official opinion on it anyway, but there was conversation that came up about the just cause and the travel. I get the family and illness and everything, but travel while on official business of the legislative body, obviously school board business, state or local agency, but I think a couple of the directors on CSBA was asking about what if it was travel for employment? Like if your job sent you somewhere.
I think it would only qualify if your employment is for a state or local agency.
Okay, so private sector?
No.
Got it. Okay, and we weren't too sure on that language, but yeah, I guess I can go back and tell them.
Okay.
Okay, all right, great, thank you.
Other questions? I have a question. I assume that the original criteria on the Brown Act still stands.
Yes.
So if you are traveling for business with your own private employer, you could still go through the process once the options expire of posting.
Correct.
And having to agendize the address you're going to be at, and the public's able to attend at that location.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Questions from the audience or comments from your audience? Online? All right, back to the board. This is discussion only, so any final questions, comments? If not, I guess we're finished with that item.
So, yeah, it was discussion only, and is there consensus from the board to continue to engage with our public the way we have been doing it?
The one observation that I thought of this past week, which is probably worth raising, I know that when individuals call in and speak, once the timer hits 0, they're immediately cut off. We've given a little grace and flexibility when people come and speak in public, so that we don't have to immediately start interrupting them the second the buzzer goes off, and then slightly, kindly nudge them to wrap up. And I know that one teacher who told me, this is probably, it's probably about 6 months ago, that he was watching our meeting, and all of a sudden decided he wanted to make a comment to the board. And rather than call in, he jumped in the car and drove here, because he knew that he would go over 3 minutes or 2 minutes, or whatever we were using, the time allotment, and we would give him a little additional breathing room to wrap up. So that is one of the, I guess, dangers or predicaments that we have if we're going to continue to allow individuals to speak remotely, is how do we create a balanced, fair, equitable environment so that regardless if you're calling in from remotely or coming here in person. And I don't know if I have an answer to that. I mean, hypothetically, I guess we could cut the sound here at 3 minutes to be fair, but at the same time, I don't know if that's appropriate either. So that's just one observation that I had just in the past week. But I guess I do have a question for Superintendent Kaligian, or maybe Mr. Clark as well. Do we know what percentage of school districts in California still offer this option to call in and speak remotely versus requiring them to come in and speak in public?
We're actually researching that. I don't have the answer right off the top of my head, but anecdotally, I know some do, some don't.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for it.
Yeah. But we'll find out as much as we can to report that back.
Do we need to give direction tonight, or is this something that we can give direction once we have that answer?
I think we can wait and give direction once I have that information gathered. I can bring it back.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I just, in reference to you bringing up equity, I think that a barrier can be to get here in person. And so if we are going to focus on equity and we are going to be accessible for all of our families, we need to leave that option of being online. So if we can't kind of do it both ways. So while I agree, I think that we should have more grace in that 3-minute time period online. I think that's how you are more equitable. And by removing that completely is putting up a huge barrier for many of our families to be engaged. So leaving it as an option, I know that our public comment and engagement online has been less, but I also know that there are many people who listen are engaged in that way, where maybe they're not making comments, but they are engaged in the fact that they are listening and hearing the meeting because they're able to do that at home with their children and be involved in that way. So I think that needs to be something to think about.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree as well. I mean, the other thing is too, is we want student engagement, and there's many students who aren't going to be driving themselves up to a board meeting, so I think that gives them the opportunity to be there, and again, we had this issue a little bit with having the curriculum only at the district office, is that there is no direct public transportation that comes to this location. The closest one is up the road, and you'd have to walk back couple miles with no sidewalk. So I feel like in order for it to be equitable for our families who can't get here, that, continuing the public comment online is appropriate.
Okay. So I guess maybe it doesn't matter what the percentage is what I'm hearing. So this board, even if, let's say it's only 1% of schools that are doing it, we want to continue. Is that what I'm hearing? All right. So if we're going to continue, does that require a future agenda item to memorialize that? Or can we just continue with the status quo?
Does it require board action since it's already in legislation?
I don't believe so, if you're going to keep it status quo.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Okay, so we'll keep
So I
it
guess
status quo.
It sounds like you have your answer then.
Yes, we'll
Okay.
still find out what we can on those that are still offering the participation virtually.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's see. Next item is Folsom Cordova Unified School District Spring Vital Signs Data Report. Superintendent.
Yes, this evening we have the spring information and data to share with our board as we've been talking about our vital signs, and we have a team that have put this information together and that have been working with our school sites and our leadership at our schools and with our staff. But I do want to recognize Jim Huber, Angie Carlamagno, Lori Emmington, Pam Oyen, Scott Meyer, Kate Hazarian, Ayana Peace, Kay Malhai, and Kevin Smith. They're not all coming to the podium to present, but they all had a piece in putting this data together for the presentation. And they're focusing on attendance, behavior, and student performance, more specifically, the grades from the first semester, which we said we'd report now, and then also after the end of the school year. So with that, we have a very thorough presentation, and I want to thank our team who are presenting tonight. So welcome, Ms. Carla Magno.
Thank you, Dr. Collegian, and board members, student board member, and colleagues. I'm happy to be here tonight. This presentation comes together from the Educational Services team, including all of the participants that Dr. Collegian listed. I won't repeat them. One of our norms for this recurring data presentation includes the protocol of using data as a flashlight and not a hammer. Data reveals trends, patterns, and strengths and areas where we may have disparity. It's information to help guide us in making decisions about student learning. We should look at the data without judgment and truly with a lens of inquiry and curiosity. The term PLC stands for Professional Learning Community. As traditionally defined, a PLC is an ongoing process in which educators work collaboratively in recurring cycles of collective inquiry and action research to achieve better results for the students they serve. When working together, they engage around these 4 questions. What do we want students to learn? How will we know if they have learned it? What will we do if they already know it? And what will we do if they didn't learn it? And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Meyer.
All right. Hey, everyone. It's been a while. Thank you for having us again. I know we talked about attendance a few months ago, but I think it's important to go over some of our common goals. Educating staff, and I think part of the PLC process is we tend to think all of our challenges are student-based, when we know adults and adult behavior and having those systems are so important if we want to have success with our students. So one of the areas that we're really working with goals is how to have these restorative, structured attendance supports. So that's from our SARTs to our SARBs. And there's a lot of folks involved for any of you that have been involved with a SART or SARB. Some of our SARBs can have 8 or 9 folks from district and county level. And for those, the successful ones don't happen by accident. We also are working really closely with staff on how to remove deficit language. We will never be able to SARB our way into good attendance. We know that. But we need to focus on attendance being really the symptom, but focus on the root causes, that is showing us that symptom. So what is our data informing us? November was a rough month. So was December. We had a trifecta of sickness. We also lost a lot of momentum from that initial 20-day challenge. But I do have some good news, and I think we should celebrate our good news. Our attendance is up 1.2% from 92.2 to 93.4. And I think even more exciting, our chronic absenteeism is down 7%. That does not happen by accident. I really want to push pause and thank our staff at the sites, not only our administrators, our teachers, but our support staff. Also want to give a shout out to 2 of the positions that we now have 3 that this board approved, and that was for our attendance specialist, Maggie Coonan, who works for the district, and Bree Malone, who is at Cordova High School. They really deserve some kudos. They literally go to bed and wake up thinking about attendance. I also want to give a quick shout out to 3 schools, Cordova Villa. They made the most calls on this most recent 20-day challenge. They made 579 phone calls in those 20 days. That is impressive. Goldridge also has cut their chronic absenteeism from last year from 26.5% to 13%. And Navigator has closed every single SART required. They're the only school to do that. So really wanted to shout out to those schools. I think we need to do that more. Something else when we're talking about progress, every one of our sites have received a personal training. We've gone out to all those sites and a training, not only what a SART is, what a SARB is, but again, how to have a proactive conversation with our families. We've added those staffing positions that I mentioned, and we've had 2 20-day challenges, one in August and one in January. So this graph compares really 3 of the previous 4 years. We did leave out 2021 because that was an anomaly year. It focuses on TK through 8th grade and chronic absenteeism. A reminder to the board, chronic absenteeism is when a student misses 10% or more of school. So if you look at this, you can see kind of improvement across the board, but I do think it's important to mention some serious concerns that we have. Number one, if you look all the way to the left with our TK, kinder, 1st grade, and 2nd grade, those are our foundational years. And if we're going to go off evidence tells us those are the most crucial time for our students to not only learn education, learn reading, writing, but also their habits of attendance. So that is worrisome. The other piece, and I know Sean has echoed this multiple times, is we are still a long ways away from where we were in 2019-20. And I think we do have I share his concerns that we often, when we look at funding formulas, we go back and look at that attendance. I don't know how realistic it is to get back there anytime soon. And I just think we need to be cognizant of that. Same chart, but this includes our high schools. Just the one thing that kind of stood out to me was our sophomores did not drop as much as their counterpart grade levels. I have no rhyme or reason for that. I just know it to be true. All right. With our gender, our females were higher when it comes to chronic absenteeism. Remember, that's 10% or more missing school. Very close, though, statistically, pretty similar. Okay. I am a big proponent of bragging and giving shout outs when we need to, but I'm also a proponent of not hiding things either. We have to show all data. And I think I've talked to the board that we have to be very careful when we look at overall data and we say, yeah, well, we're the highest rated district when it comes to attendance with all the surrounding districts. Well, that might be true, but that's not true with all of our student groups. So if you look here, the green is good attendance satisfactory, and that's 5% or less that they've missed of school. The blue would be at risk. That's between the 5 and 10%. And then the red is 10% or higher. And you can see our Hispanic and our Black students are definitely higher. Our Pacific Islanders, too, are much higher. I will say they are a much smaller group. If you look at the bottom, 172. Still a number of students, but maybe not as significant when you look at our Hispanic, when it's almost 5,000. Again, looking at some of our other student groups, we see that we are disproportionate and very significant, especially with our foster, our special education. I don't know about you, but when I look at that 40% of almost 1 out of every 3 of our special education students are chronically absent or chronically truant, that hurts, and we have to do better. And I would say the same with the other student groups as well. I'm kind of shifting gears to behavior, but I'm not totally shifting because they're so intertwined when we talk about attendance and behavior. Our goals with behavior, and I say ours because it really is a district, not just my office, is really keeping students engaged. We know when students are engaged, they're less likely to miss school and they're less likely to get into trouble. If they feel like they're part of that school, they're less likely to have bad behavior. And they're also, when they do have that behavior, it makes it more of a conversation instead of a confrontation. So another goal is to reduce that exclusionary discipline. We know that removing a child from a class, evidence does not support us that will change the behavior. So the other piece is really to continue to grow using a coaching model to improve student engagement. We know that evidence does tell us that changes behavior. So what data is informing us? We are using, we have plenty of discipline data. We have all the data we need, but we are looking at the discipline data, but not just overall. We're looking at those student groups, and we're really responding specifically for those student groups. We're really using our funds, I think more so than ever, to really go to those students who bring in those duplicated funds, and we're using it on those students. And student engagement and achievement. So we are making progress here too. 20% reduction in home and in-school suspensions. I can promise you the behaviors are still there. I can promise you they are more severe than they were 5 years ago, especially at our elementary. I do want to give a couple shout outs to our schools because, again, much like attendance, our schools really deserve the credit for this. They are going above and beyond, and whether it's in the classroom, the front office, in the library. But Folsom High School has reduced their suspensions from 90 to 23. That's significant. And that's the first 108 days of school. Cordova High School has reduced their suspensions from 320 to 180. And that's significant. I know these are just numbers, but if you put a face to that number, that's significant. I do think it is important. I know we're talking about data, but I feel that one of the things, and especially talking with our union representatives or classroom teachers or site admin, they want more training, and we need to provide more training. So that is high on our list. We have provided a number of trainings and brought in a number of supports to work with certain student groups. And we're really excited about that, but we need to continue to grow that. So breaking it down into our we did 21-22 and 22-23. Really excited that all of our student groups decreased with suspensions except for Asian. Asian went up 0.03%, which is very insignificant. And I do think it's important with our Don't Suspend Me campaign and our behavior RTI trainings. Every single one of our schools have been working on that this year, and we provided additional support for our highest needs schools, which, by definition is, targeting our equity. So our total enrollment figures are included next to the student group. So you can see an American Indian or Alaska Native, that could be swayed by just a couple students. But some of our larger groups, if you look at our Black or African American, those numbers aren't as easy to shift. So we're excited we're going in the right direction. However, we clearly still have work to do. We're still very disproportionate when it comes to this. So it's not like we just finished the race and we're all good. We got a long ways to go. So very similar data, but I just really like this graph. It's very user-friendly, but you can see we're all going to the left, which is what we want. I think equally as important, the board probably wants to know, well, what are students being suspended for? And one really clearly stands out, and that's the cause attempted threat and physical injury. I want to be clear with the board, that does not mean they got into that there was an actual full-on fist fight. Those sometimes could be just threatened. So we clearly see room for growth here where we can reduce those. But we have to provide the training and those other means, and it might be providing an area, providing that additional support. We can't just tell our staff or tell our teachers, hey, don't suspend, or staff, don't suspend. We need to continue to provide those other supports. The use of force or violence, that one is up, and I have a theory, just so the board knows, kindergarten through 8th grade, you cannot suspend for defiance or disruption. Kindergarten through 8th grade. That is a relatively new law, but I think it also has some unintended consequences where that has been shifted to the used force or violence. That brings us to our third most common suspension. That's disruption and defiance. Although that's only third, that's only our high schools. So that's another room or area that I think we can focus on for growth. This is just really our ultimate goal. I wanted to remind the board that exclusionary discipline, that we have no chance once students are off our campus to teach them to work with maybe the challenging behavior. But I really like the analogy that we need to start looking at all these kids like they're our own kids. And when our kids mess up, we don't just send them home. We don't send them to the room for 3 days. You know, we work with them. We give them chances, but we work with them. Kind of covered that. The last slide for me. This was kind of a good visual. I do want to, this was for the fall semester. So our law enforcement referrals have gone up. Those are those required times where we have to. So that has gone up quite a bit. And those are, again, where we have to contact law enforcement. But if you do notice, our out-of-school suspension has gone down. Our in-school suspension has gone down. Our classroom suspension has gone up quite a bit. I'm going to turn it over. I can keep going. You want me to?
I thought you were going to click for my next slide.
Oh.
All right. Good evening, Dr. Kaligian and board members. So my vital sign is directly related to the two vital signs that Scott has just been talking about, because behavior and attendance is going to directly impact our graduation rates and our grades. And so, so our current goals for graduation and credit recovery, and that's basically what we're going to talk about tonight, because our semester grades have just come out for secondary. We're going to talk about high school. And so A through G completion rate and graduation rate will be our focus. So our goals is to increase graduation and A through G completion rate. And we do that by providing students with opportunities for remediation, for recovering credits. Our current actions, we're looking at this data now at the end of every semester, but the important semester we look at is we have to compare our first semester with the next year's first semester. We have to see if we're improving. We have to compare like times with like times. That didn't even make sense. Now I'm sounding like Elena, sorry. It's contagious. If I'm in the same room with her, I catch it. What we want to do, though, is provide spring recovery to those students who, during the fall semester, may have failed a class or may need to repeat. Sometimes they may have a D, which means that doesn't count for A through G, or sometimes they've actually failed the class, so they have to repeat. So just to be clear, you can still graduate with a D, but it doesn't count as meeting those A through G requirements. So we have new spring credit recovery plans thanks to a grant we have that is to focus on increasing our A through G completers. And so we're trying a pilot right now at Cordova High School, and I'm going to share a little bit more about that. But it does, so far it's been successful. And it is the pilot program. We can also offer this at Folsom High in the fall. And so that's our plan. We're making progress. As of 2/6/23, I have to change that. We now have 21 students that have completed 5 credits. And we have approximately a little over 70 students that are taking advantage of this credit recovery program at Cordova High School. So it is working, and we're pretty excited about it. We're going to look at their completion and their participation rates at the end of each 10-week cycle, because students can finish one class, and if they also have another class they need to remediate, they can start another class. So I'll explain that a little bit more on the next slide. Oh, I'm in control. All right. So at Cordova High, so we have 3 classes. We have math, English, and social science. They're all taught by a content area specialist. So there's a math teacher in a math class who's only working with students who are remediating math. And so it is an APEX class. It is online. They take an assessment at the beginning of the course that diagnoses exactly what they need to remediate. So if they've already shown mastery of a standard, they don't have to redo that. They only have to work on the standards they've not yet mastered. And so the math teacher will work with them to do that. Then we also have English, we have social science, again, content specialists in those classes.
The way it works is a student can complete a failed social science class and then move into an English class that they've failed and remediate that as well, all within that one semester, depending on how fast they're able to take care of that. Let's see, I want to make sure. Yep, that is it on that one. And so we're pretty excited about that. We're going to see if Folsom High wants to offer the same. I'm sorry, I'm so worried about Mr. Clark. Are you cold? I keep watching you. I want to go get you a blanket. That's why I'm distracted. He's cold.
Yeah, it's just blowing right on me.
All right.
No worries.
Okay. So we want to see if we can do the same thing at Folsom High School. So if you can go to the, why am I, there we go. All right. I forget I'm in control. At Folsom High School, currently, they have one period of APEX offered. Juniors and seniors can take that course. It isn't taught by a content area specialist, but students can remediate in different content areas. So in that same class, there might be some English students, some math students, some social science students, and it's kind of an in and out. Once they remediate, then they're done with that. In Vista Lago, because of the 4x4 block schedule, students recover credit from a failed course by taking the course again in the spring. So if they fail their IM1 class in the fall, they can repeat that class. They'll put them back in that class in the spring so that they're still on track for the next year. And then at Vista, there's also 11th and 12th graders that can remediate through APEX recovery class. They have social science in the spring, and then they normally have English in the fall, and that would be a full course. All right. Here is the overall graduation rate for our district for 21-22 was at 92.92%. And then completed A through G requirements, the average for the district was 50.93%. Any questions on that? Okay. So now we're going to look at D and F rates. And that's one thing that a high school principal will really focus on, those D's and F rates. And they'll break it down and look at which teachers might have more D's and F's, which courses might have more D's and F's. You know, where do we need to really put our energy? So this is an important area where the data that we look at probably the most. So of our total students, 20% of our students have, and total students are 6,269 approximately, high school students enrolled in the 3 high schools. Of that 6,269, 20% have a D or an F in math. 13% have a D or an F in English, 12% in science, and 9% in social science. And so these are students with at least one or more D and F. So one of that 20%, these are students, not grades. So of that 20%, we might have students that have multiple Ds and Fs, or you might have just a student that has one D. And I would say our concerns too, somebody had said, well, if a D is still graduating, why are we worried about Ds? And we're worried about Ds because if a student gets a D in the first semester of a class, the likelihood of them getting something higher than an F in the second semester is slim, especially if it's a class like math where they haven't built that foundation and now they're going into that second semester and they don't have the skills they needed from the first semester. So Ds are important as well. This here's gender broken down by course. So of the 20% of students that had a D or an F in math, 53% of them are male and 47% of them are female. You can see it's interesting to look at English. 61% of the students that are failing have a D or an F right now in English. 61% of them are males. and just interrupt if you have any questions. Then we broke it down to a percentage of students in subgroups with D or an F. And this one was hard for me. 49% of our English learners have a D or an F in math. 50% of our homeless population have a D or an F in math. And then 11% of students with disabilities have a D or an F in math. So I was pleased at the low rates of students with disabilities, but the English learner and the homeless population was awakening. Oh, and students can be in more than, so you could have an English learner who's also a student with a disability, who's also perhaps a student that's homeless. So students could be in more than one group. And then we also broke it down into ethnicity. 10% of Asian students have a D or an F, at least a D or an F. 57% of Black or African Americans have at least one D or an F. And then you can see the other. So that was something we need to look at and work on as well.
On this slide here, is it possible to also get, through the superintendent, this demographic broken down by gender as well? So
Sure.
Male, female, Asian, male, female, Black, African American.
We can absolutely do that.
Thank you.
You bet. And then this is a slide you may have seen before. This is how the sites are using this data to inform their instruction as well as how to create supports in schools. And so this is a continuous process where teachers are giving formative assessments to see where the learning needs to occur, what they need to reteach. The elementary sites participate in every student by name, where they look at every student and see what areas where there might be gaps or where they might need extra support. They do that twice yearly. Summative assessments are what drives the grades, and that's where we get the Ds and Fs. I will say one of our initiatives across the district is with PLCs is helping teachers align their practices and learn from each other, so that if one teacher is really successful in getting students across that finish line, the other teachers can learn from that teacher, and sharing those practices where we can go back and reteach. Scott went over some of the student supports. We look at suspension data, attendance data. I think if you were to look at these Ds and Fs and you pick them out by name, and then you grab Scott's list of students with attendance and behavior problems, you're going to see that many of them are the same students. So I think when we can fix one, we're going to fix the other. And then we have a whole child response to data. We had a wonderful meeting in October where we brought all of the Rancho Cordova schools together, and the principals worked together and talked about their needs and how one school feeds into the next, and how we can work as a united group to close those achievement gaps. We're going to do that with Folsom as well, and we're also bringing the Rancho Cordova principals back again this spring. We're working PLC schools developing and implementing PLCs is going to be, I'm going to call it the secret sauce. It really is going to be what helps us get to where we need to be with closing those achievement gaps. We have a math cadre right now that they're amazing to watch. It's a little over, I think, 20 teachers between TK and 12, and they are so passionate about math. And math is probably one of the biggest areas that keeps our students from being A through G ready. So IM2 and IM3 are the big stumbling blocks. So we're working on right now providing more opportunities for IM3 students. So right now we're creating data science courses for that can be offered at all 3 high schools, and they're all interested. And we have advanced algebra with financial applications that's being offered in lieu of IM3 at 2 of our schools. So we're trying to find other ways to get students engaged with math and becoming A through G ready. And then, of course, our focus on early literacy is our science of reading that Angie is spearheading, and she's doing an amazing job. So lots of passion about that. I know you'll hear more from Kate about Community Schools Initiative, about our Improve Tomorrow and our Earth Mama Healing. All of our schools participate at MTSS and RTI, and we continue to train our staff on that. Our trauma-informed care training, we have mental health specialists at most of our schools, all of our schools, that support our students. And then I think as a whole, especially looking at these vital signs now, we're constantly trying to address the root cause of the issue rather than just trying to take care of the symptom that we see now. And that's it. Our next our next vital signs report will be in June. And at that time, we're going to look at our initial diagnostic versus our third diagnostic with Renaissance and with Edmentum. We'll have that final grades report for the second semester of our high schools. And Scott will again look at attendance and behavior. And I'm guessing that Dr. Pease, wherever she went, will be looking at panorama and SEL information. Oh, you were right there earlier. Okay. All right. Any questions for me?
Questions from the board?
I don't have a question. I just want to say thank you for really desegregating the data. And I hope that that continues down to the site level with teachers, because I know, like you said, if you really put a name to those students, they're many times the same student. So giving those names to the teachers and really allowing them to really build a relationship with those students. So I think it's helpful for everybody to see it broken down so nicely and so clearly. And so I appreciate it, because I can imagine, I don't know, but I can imagine how much work that was. So thank you.
Of course.
Mr. Clark?
Yeah. Can we go to page 10? I just had a question about that. I think it was page 10 on the 20% reduction in home or in-school suspension. What do you think the attributes are to that? I mean, why do we have that 20%?
There's a lot to that, but I think the biggest thing is kind of changing the mindset of when I started out in education, if you used your fist, you were going home for this. That was how we were trained.
Right.
And it's hard to, I have a dirty little secret. Educators hate change, and that shift is hard. But I also know that we really are in a day and age where we're following data, and we're doing evidence-based strategies.
Right.
And if something's not evidence-based, we should not be using it. There is a time for suspension. I want to be really clear. There's a time for expulsion, and I always mention that's Z. There's A through Y before we get there. So we've been spending a lot of time working with site, and I think we're adding a lot of resources and additional training for those schools that previously have had higher numbers, and those are the schools, lo and behold, have dropped significant, because I think that is pretty significant in a year. I also know we've brought in a lot of the groups that we talked about, Earth Mama Healing, Rolanda, right?
Yeah.
She's amazing. And IYTs last year got a little slow start. They're doing great this year. We've been bringing in the Hannigans, again, working with all of our schools, but then adding that additional support, which I mentioned earlier. That's the definition of equity, giving those schools or those kids that need that extra support to get there. I actually have that in my notes that I didn't cover. Ripple Effect, we've been bringing in other programs. Ripple Effect is online restorative work. So instead of sitting in-house doing nothing or making paper airplanes, we have Ripple Effect. Oh my gosh, our tier 1 SEL. Our SEL and just tier 1. Take everything else I said. If we want to make the change, if all of our schools had the time and the resources to continue to grow, which they are. Some are at different levels, but you just know walking onto a campus, the schools that are really investing time into that tier one. And I know you go to a lot of schools, you see it, you feel it. So, yeah, I think really providing opportunities besides exclusionary, where I will be honest that we have some growing pains as we've kind of reduced the exclusionary, but we still haven't fully trained. And I know our elementary teachers really need a lot of training because they're seeing behavior that they've never seen before.
Right.
And it's not fair to them. I've had so many teachers come up to me and say, I've never suspended a kid in 22 years. I've suspended 5 this year. And so we have a lot of work to do, but I think those would be some of the bigger ones.
Yeah, well, I know you mentioned the Mama Earth Healing and IYT, and I know that we're now kind of dipping our toe in the water with the restorative youth justice and program, especially at Mills, Cordova, Kinney, those Rancho Cordova schools with the diversion case manager. Do you think that's going to make an impact as well, as far as getting the referrals out to them and giving them the opportunity to work with those youth?
Yeah, and I was going to talk about that a little bit later in a presentation.
Okay.
So it's on a smaller scale, but absolutely. But if I could answer that a little later.
Okay,
so
sure.
Not steal my thunder.
I'm trying to. Sorry, Scott.
I wanted to add to that Angie and I are working on developing a model for instructional coaching, because our teachers that are trying to teach right now are teaching in an environment they've never taught in before. The behaviors are different. Keeping students engaged is a little more challenging. And so we have to give them the tools and the strategies to do that. So we're working with a team to train them to be instructional coaches. And so they go in and they work with their colleagues and they help them to try different strategies that will truly engage students. Because one of the things we know is that if a student isn't engaged, they're going to find something that's engaging, and it's often something that's going to get them in trouble. So we're attacking it from so many different, it's all we think about. It's attendance and behavior and instruction. And I think a lot of us don't sleep at night because we wake up at 2 a.m. thinking, oh, you know what we could do, and this would be great. So, all right.
Okay, and then if we can, I'm thinking it's page 23 or 24. Right there. 23. I know the board president had asked for a breakdown of, male, female, Asian, Black, African American. Can we include the non-binary as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Of course.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right.
And that's it for me.
Yeah. Ms. Lorette?
Just really quick, what was it exactly at Navigator that they were doing that were meeting all the criteria, like on their absenteeism? Was there like a specific thing that they were doing, or?
Yeah, so once you've been chronically absent for a certain amount of time, you get a warning letter. After you get your second letter, administrators have to close what's called a SART, so it's a student advisory, or basically, the SARBs would be at the district level, and the SART is at the site level. And what they do at that level is it's a call, it's with a student, it can be a meeting in person, but it's setting up a plan, and it's an actual contract, so it addresses the barriers. It's not, you better get to school or we're gonna SARB you, although that is mentioned, but it's saying, well, how are you struggling? What time are you going to bed at night? Are you going to bed with a electronic device? Do you have a car? Do you have a working automobile? Do you, where are you between parents? So that, they've closed all of those, which is a lot of work, you can imagine. So that's what I meant, closing the SARTs. So.
Thank you.
I have a couple comments and questions as well. Thank you so much, staff, for all of your efforts, not only for this presentation, but also just the progress that we've made thus far. I know it's a lot of work, so thank you for that. I'm really proud to see the reductions in suspensions and improvements in attendance. And thank you for calling out specifically the disruption and defiance offense type within the suspension data. I'm confident that in the coming years, we will continue to prioritize a restorative lens for those kinds of infractions rather than a putative lens. And I wanted to ask you, Mr. Meyer, if you could speak a little bit more about the increase in class suspensions and what you think that increase might be attributed to. And I was also wondering if it's up to the discretion of the teachers or the administrators to decide what kind of suspension a student has.
Right. So when it comes to classroom suspensions, I mentioned earlier, administrators kindergarten through 8th grade cannot suspend for K. So we've had about 1,200 class suspensions this year. About 1,199 of those have been for K, which is disruption and defiance. So I don't have exact science, but I do have some theories. I think one, behavior is definitely higher than it's ever been before. Higher.
Worse.
More extreme, I'd say, where redirecting isn't working for some of the students. I also know that we need to provide more training for some of our staff. That's another. This is where I get a little bit in the weeds, but I think there's some truth to this. I think as we're transitioning to this restorative model, that's a lot harder. The easy thing to do is to suspend and to send home. But when we don't, I don't know if that communication with the administrators working with staff or with students, if a teacher sees that kid back in their class and they don't know what exactly happened, for lack of better words, they might take it into their own hands to classroom suspend that student because they feel nothing has been happening. So I think we need to maybe include the teachers more into those restorative processes and also do a better job. And I'm not putting this on our administrators because we're asking them to do a lot, like build the plane as it's flying, but communicate better too. We had them do a restorative letter. They did the ripple. We had a mediation with a student that they got in an argument with your class. But I think sometimes that might be left out and it might defer to a class suspension. I know we're working with a lot of folks, a lot of them in this room, to really clarify our language, what constitutes a conference after a class suspension. Because that, again, just like a regular suspension, a class suspension alone is not going to change behavior. So we're working with our union partners, with site admin, with teachers. It's a big lift though, because it's a change. But teachers, absolutely, they have the right to classroom suspend for up to 2 days. That's not the administrators. That's not up to the admin.
And then I just also wanted to comment that I'm extremely concerned about the disproportionality relating to Black and Brown students. In nearly every category, Black and Brown students are lacking the supports they need to achieve at the rate of their counterparts. So I think diverse teaching staff and administration, more implicit bias training for site staff, restorative justice practices, and our community schools initiative, and so much more are essential now more than ever in response to the data. Thanks.
Thank you. We couldn't agree more.
Other questions?
Board President.
Oh, yes, Mr. Hui.
And Mr. Clark, I just want to thank you for bringing up the non-binary information we're looking for. I was hoping as you give us that info on slide 23, perhaps we could see the same information on slide 21. That's my only comment. If that can be sent to the board as well, it'd be great.
Oh, no, of course.
All right, anything else?
I do have a question. I think I saw somewhere that indicated that we had, maybe I misread it. Do we only have 9 non-binary students?
What slide are you on?
I don't
It's
recall
not
the
on
slide.
I'm looking at Pam because Pam knows.
I think it's 30.
It's 30. Well,
It's under 30. It's
just
under
under
30.
30.
That's why anything that was under 30, we left out.
right,
Because it's such a small amount, it could call out
the student.
the student.
And that's actually one of my questions is if we get into that granular with non-binary on some of these slides, do we risk calling out the student?
That's why we normally don't include any student groups that have less than 30.
Right, okay. Well, I defer to your judgment on that, yeah. On slide 15. So if I'm reading this correctly, there's a lot of positive things on these two pie charts, fall 21 to fall 22. Total number of suspensions are down from 963 to 835. By the way, if a student is suspended twice, would that be counted? Is it by individuals
Good,
or
I
is it
should have
by?
mentioned that. So this is non-duplicated. So yeah, if a student is suspended 10 times or one time, it just counts as one. We follow the same as dashboard.
Okay.
That's what dashboard uses. So we're trying to keep it consistent.
Okay. But, I see the law enforcement reference drop small numbers, 7.8 to
1.9, but that actually has gone up because this was in the last 2 months. Some, not extreme, but yeah, it's actually catching up to last year pretty quick.
Oh, it is catching up, okay.
And those were for required law enforcement referrals. So
Right.
those are selling drugs, serious bodily injury.
Well, I guess my question is the reason why some of these pie slices are going smaller, but the class suspension is increasing, is it possible that the teachers are utilizing the class suspension more because other avenues are being discouraged? Is that a possibility of why
That is a possibility. I will say, I've worked at a few different schools, and it's often, some teachers struggle more than others when it comes to classroom management. And most schools, a handful of teachers are doing 90% of the class suspensions. So this year we are tracking which teachers are doing the most suspensions. And it's not to be punitive, but it's to provide them extra support, and the coaching model that both Lori and Angie are bringing in to provide extra support for those teachers. It's not that they don't want to have strong class management, it's just some have stronger than others. But to answer your question, I do think that some of those might be because they feel the other avenues aren't working. I think it's also a shift in mindset where if a student isn't listening, they're out of here. I have 30 other kids to teach. And, I haven't been in the classroom for 10 years, and I want to be really cognizant about that. This is, I think, tougher now than it was 10 years ago. I haven't had anyone say it's easier now. So I don't know how to totally answer that question because we're talking about a large number, but there's probably some truth in that statement.
Okay. And then also, first of all, I appreciate the gender breakdown that you provided on several of the slides. That's much appreciated. I notice, and I know the staff does a great job of putting these together, so please don't take my question otherwise. But I'm wondering, is there a reason why we didn't break it down by community, meaning Folsom versus Rancho? Because obviously, one of our initiatives is, trying to find ways to focus where the challenges are. And if there are greater challenges in one community versus the other, I think it helps the board understand where resources need to be directed or redirected to assist. But by not breaking it down by community, I guess we're only left to making assumptions of what that might look like.
And I'm happy to break that down for you and do it by school and provide that to you.
Yeah, even school would be even better. Yeah.
I think looking at it in the full lens, though, reminds us that we are a unified district. So things that, whereas, yes, it will help maybe with possible supports of, well, what's working well at this school versus what's maybe not working well at this school. From school to school, from community to community, there's many different needs. So the needs are going to be different, but the problem is a unified problem. And so as a district, we have a problem. So whether, it doesn't matter where it is, and the supports from school site to school site is going to be different based on who is teaching there, who the administration is, who the families are. There's so many idiosyncrasies that go into what is leading to these things. We kind of have to look at it as a full picture. As a district, we have a problem. And as a district, what are we all going to do for all of our students, no matter where they go to school? Rather than, okay, well, this school needs this, it's a district problem that we have to face. So while it can help with individual supports, and I think that that's more of the PLC conversations that need to happen, and it's a hard conversation to have as a teacher, as an administrator, as a district administrator, to bring it to those. It's a very hard and personal conversation to have, and I think that when we bring it out into a public forum, it would be much better of use of time if those PLC conversations have already been able to happen and they've kind of meddled with what they're dealing with in their classrooms or in their sites, to be able to show some success, because those conversations are very scary to have and very hard to have and very personal, because teachers that are teaching those classrooms love the kids like their own. And so if you're starting to pinpoint a school problem or a class problem, it's going to make those conversations more defensive, and we need to break down those walls of defense to be able to have a conversation to solve the problem. So right now as a district, we have a unified problem. And so it's going to require those conversations at a site level and with the teachers and individually and give those supports. But until we can have those at that level and feel okay with the work and what's happening, I worry about bringing it out and totally breaking it down by school or anything that's going to feel personal, because those conversations need to happen, and any wall we put up that makes that harder to have is going to lead to less success.
What she said.
And I'd like to tag on to that as well. I agree that when we're talking about district data and we're looking at vital signs as a district, we want to keep at the forefront that we are a unified district. However, our LCAP data walks breaks down our data by school site, by gender, by subgroup, and that's the hard work that each of our schools and our leadership at our schools are doing, so they know what students to target, to know what supports our staff need, to know what supports our families need, and to be able to resource up what they may need. So that work does happen. It is that specific, but they're hard conversations to have. And every school in our district has challenges of one kind or another. And each one's, we want to give that baseline level of support, but each one is going to address what they need to do above and beyond for those students that require it a little bit differently. And I think that's one of the beauties of the redistribution of the supplemental funds, is we're allowing our schools to make those decisions, to work with their school site councils and their ELACs to have that conversation of how are we going to best meet those students' needs. And I think our community schools initiative is another way to bring in that voice of how do we support the families? How can the community come together? And it's a huge, onion to peel back all those layers, but I think it's, we need to do that. We need to look at the root causes, as Mr. Meyer said, of why we see what the data is the way it is. So I think we need to look at it in totality, and we need to drill down for specific actions.
I've been in the district now for 23 years, and I've never been more excited about the leadership and how we are working to move that needle forward. So I see real progress and a bright landscape. So ahead, I'm excited.
And just to clarify, of course we're a unified school district, but we also don't have endless sums of money. And we need to make sure that the money is put to its best use. And hypothetically, if you're looking at the suspension rate, which you provided us in page 11, it looks like, if there are certain sites where we have no suspensions or hardly any suspensions, and some sites where we have significant suspensions, I think the board needs to know that, because why, even though we're a unified district, why would we be directing resources to a school to deal with a suspension or expulsion when they don't have suspension or expulsion problems? We need to direct those types of resources to the schools that do.
Can you give me an example of a resource we would send to a school that wouldn't have any suspensions?
I'm sorry, say it
Can you
again?
give me an example of a resource that you're talking about that we might send to a school that has lower discipline?
I'm not really sure what you're asking.
Well, okay, what I was understanding what you're saying is, why are we providing certain resources to schools that might not have the disciplinary issues that other schools have? Is that what I'm?
No, what I'm saying is, when we're dealing with issues, whether it's F&D, whether it's suspension or expulsion, whether it's gender, whether it's ethnicity, race, and we have, as a board or as a district, limited resources when we need to provide trainings or need to provide additional supports to help on a particular issue. You know, again, I understand we're a unified school district, but at the same time, if we want to help schools that with suspension, expulsion, or F&D or whatever, we want to be able to focus our resources, human capital, trainings, programs, to the area of the most dire need. If we try to spread that out to every site, then we perhaps are watering down what we're doing and our efforts by not targeting the school sites with the primary cause. So that's my point.
Yeah, we just had some, we meet with staffs of every site, and they're presenting all of their data to us, their suspensions, and then they're talking with Sean and Dawn about staffing. We're there at services to talk about their programs, and they look at how they're going to allocate their funds based on where their gaps are and where their needs are. So that's really powerful. But whatever information that you would like us to bring forth, just let Dr. Kaligian know, and we're happy to get that for you.
But President Reed, I do have to say that that's exactly what the duplicated funds that we're talking about are used for. We have general fund that everyone gets, and exactly what we're talking about with the LCAP walks. You just described it. That's what we're doing. We're doing it with the public, with the LCAP walks and the school site leadership, and we're doing it behind the scenes. We're doing it with our administrators. I mean, this is happening every single week. But I've just explained that really is what that money's meant to go to. What you're describing, we're supposed to be using data, and we're supposed to be using our duplicated students to get those funds and to redistribute to those specific students.
Again, back to my original question, why isn't it not in this presentation?
And we did go back and forth on that. I know why I voted against it, but so I voted against it because I felt some of the comments last time we brought it out were extremely inappropriate, insensitive, and targeted some of the hardest working people I know. So that's why I personally voted against dividing.
I'm at a loss for what you're referencing.
Okay.
Do you want to share?
Yeah, when we've provided some data split up with actual sites at these large forums, I thought it was counterproductive. I thought that some of the comments that were made not only were insensitive to the strong teachers and leadership that we have at some of our schools that have higher duplicated students, I thought it was extremely disrespectful to some of our students and families at those schools that might not have the means of some of our other schools. I mean, I don't know if right now is the forum that I want to get into that, but if you're asking why I voted against having the school breakdown, that's why I voted against it.
So you're saying
I can't speak for my
you're
colleagues.
saying this board spoke disparagingly on this topic at a prior meeting? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying a member spoke multiple times.
On the dais?
That's why I voted. I don't want to speak for the rest of my team, though, but that's why I voted against dividing this, especially because we have so many other opportunities with LCAP walks, with our meetings, which we always have an open door policy to our board members. So that's why I voted against this.
So, but you don't think the board deserves to see that information?
Oh, absolutely. We can provide that information. We were just talking about there's different ways that we can provide that information. It might not need to be in this meeting right here.
So if I could just step in for a minute, like maybe if we could just get the LCAP individual data for each of the schools, that might be like just a
And
way.
actually, we have it here. We've provided the board with a copy of all the broken down data by school.
Yes,
by-
that would
yeah.
probably satisfy it without having in a public forum for us to look at it and maybe come back for a conversation if we need to at a later date.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, any further comments by the board? Again, this is just discussion. Why don't we open it to the public? Is there any public comments? Any online? Okay. Back to the board. If there's no further discussion, we'll move on to item 13, information. And current programs supporting access and achievement for Rancho Cordova students and information on the 1300 campaign. Superintendent.
Yes, and this was a request by one of our board members to bring this information forward, but I think it also addresses what we're doing above and beyond to support some of our groups of students that need that extra support to get across the finish line, to graduate. What are those other strategic initiatives we need through the community, through the schools, to get our students to that level of success as well. So with that, we're looking at current programs supporting access of achievement of our students in Rancho Cordova specifically, and the great partnerships that we have. And then a little bit more information about the 1300 campaign, which was also a request of Mr. Clark. But I want to thank, again, our team, Jim Huber, Ayanna Peace, Scott Meyer, Kate Azarian, and we have Dr. Peace and Mr. Meyer sharing this information tonight. So welcome.
Thank you. So tonight we are going to be providing some information about programs that support access and achievement within our Rancho Cordova middle schools and high schools, as well as requested information on the 1300 campaign. Our partners are Earth Mama Healing, Improve Your Tomorrow, and Folsom Cordova Community Partnership. First, Earth Mama Healing. It is a local nonprofit organization who has served the Sacramento County for over 2 decades. The mission of Earth Mama Healing is to create emotionally strong, spiritually connected, and socially smart Black youth by addressing the historical and systemic barriers that have impacted the achievement and advancement of Black people. Through programming, the founder, Rolanda Wilkins, and meeting students where they are, youth are taught how to discover greatness from within themselves and empower them with the tools necessary to sustain well beyond their adolescent years. In FCUSD, we partner with Earth Mama Healing and their Dream Academy at Mills, Mitchell, and Cordova High School. So the Dream Academy teaches life skills through activities and dialogue, focusing on self-esteem, self-worth, good decision-making, increased academic achievement, positive social interaction with peers, and adults, community, and decreasing risky behavior and alcohol and drug abuse education. And it is the belief of the Dream Academy that through knowledge and access of supportive networks, youth can make decisions that minimize the occurrence of at-risk behavior and maximize their highest potential. For some of the objectives they have here, I'm not going to read all of those, but I want to draw emphasis to the 3rd bullet point and just read to you some of the dream statements that some of our students have written. When I grow up, I want to become a nurse because I also want to be like my aunt and save other people. I want to attend Folsom Lake College and earn a medical degree. This will help me achieve my dream by becoming a nurse, and it's also cheap and affordable. I also want to be in the Folsom Cordova district still. I live in Rancho Cordova because I was born and raised there. Another young scholar says, I attend Mitchell Middle School and I'm currently in the 8th grade. My passion for life is dancing, writing, and designing. When I grow up, I want to become an engineer. I want to attend UC Berkeley and earn a bachelor's degree. One more. I attend Mills Middle School. I'm currently in the 8th grade. I have one sibling and I am the oldest. My passion for life is culinary. When I grow up, I want to become a chef or a baker because I love science and cooking. I want to attend ARC to earn a culinary degree. This will help me achieve my dream of becoming a chef and baker so that I can open my restaurant. I'll live in LA. I'm loyal, funny, and a pretty person. My career and personal life will match up great. We live with my family, husband, and kids. I would also like to see my restaurant on the news and magazines. So these are just dream statements of our young people. So moving forward to Improve Your Tomorrow. Improve Your Tomorrow has the key elements that are listed on the slide there. We began our partnership with IYT in the fall of 2021, and so we're in our 2nd year of the agreement. The partnership is in place from July of 2021 through June of 2024. IYT, they gather formative data to reflect progress at each site. There's a student ratio of 1 mentor to 25 students, and the mentors meet with students 3 days a week after school. In terms of our MOU and their methods of assessment, they are listed here. So reduction in D's and S for students, reduction in suspensions, and increase our college going rate. And I'm going to pass it over to Scott to talk about FCCP.
It's amazing. We're talking all these numbers and then you read a couple of the dream comments and it's just like totally different conversation. So FCCP, we received we were part of a $2 million grant. It was a 3-year grant. It started kind of at a crummy time, 2021. So the first couple of years were a little rough, but it has been really exciting to watch it in action this year. When I say rough, just with staffing challenges. So this grant was really designed, the first of its kind, to reduce that disparity, to reduce kids entering the juvenile system, and really students of color, and by not just providing mentorship, but providing full wraparound, providing the services they need, which we know every student is different. Every student, every family has different needs. They did this by having a diversion case manager, and this is pretty cool. So that case manager, for example, sits on all of our SARBs, which we've had almost 60 this year. So they can provide some resources we can't within our own school. They also work one-on-one with students. They're on a referral basis, so we can refer students anywhere from the age 10 to 17. And they can go visit the students at school. They can work with them outside of the school. They do everything from helping kids get jobs to working on their resumes. Like I said, it's a full wraparound. And with the end goal to keep them out of any kind of punitive, specifically the juvenile justice system. They've been working for the past 2 years with Cordova High, Prospect, Kinney, Mills, and Mitchell, and really working closely with Cordova High and Kinney. They do these youth career centers, which are pretty cool. I mentioned getting students ready for job. I don't know if the board's aware, but a lot of our kids work. And have the work permits. A lot of our kids want to work, but just don't even know where to start. This is really where they're focusing on. They do have the CDBG Wellness Club, which is doing cohorts, and we're really excited because this is something they're offering over the summer. I remember when I was at Mills, and a lot of our kids, some of our kids were really excited for the summer, and a lot of our kids were really starting to act out and really stressed because of the summer, because they didn't have anywhere to go. They didn't have the options, I should say. So this is yet another option that we're super excited. So The grant is ending at the end of this year. We are hopeful that we can continue this relationship, maybe even build. So we are working closely. They've been great. They've also attended a lot of our discipline conferences. And in lieu of perhaps doing an administrative transfer, we could say, will you work with, meet with so-and-so and with the diversion manager and work on this plan, and we'll do that instead of, and keep you at this school. 'Cause the last thing we want to do is remove them from their home environment. So, back at you.
All right, so at the request of Board Member Clark, we're going to be covering the 1300 campaign. Founded in 2019 at the wake of the George Floyd murder, the 1300 campaign seeks to tackle systemic barriers. The name 1300 is a play off of the 13th Amendment, which states that neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, whereof the party shall have the duly convicted shall exist in the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. So simply put, this just means that slavery is legal if you've been convicted for a crime. The education system contributes to mass incarceration of young men of color through exclusionary discipline practices, which we commonly refer to as the school to prison pipeline. So through the 1300 campaign, there are 9 campaign priorities, which I will talk about a little bit later. And there's a focus on high need communities. And those communities were identified through the Sacramento Blue Ribbon Commission. And Rancho Cordova is listed as one of them. So IOIT also brings the 1300 campaign to school sites that have IOIT placed there. So IOIT is the coordinating entity of the 1300 campaign. They do the mentoring and the programmatic pieces, but there are other community organizations that are part of the 1300 campaign. So what would that entail for us? So as a board, it would entail a board resolution, and the board resolution is basically an affirmation that the district is committed to the campaign and its goals, as well as the 9-point plan. I will note that most districts have board resolutions already in place, with the exception of Folsom, Cordova, and Twin Rivers. The resolutions have been adopted all throughout the county, including student associations, the city of Sacramento, and Congresswoman Matsui. She provided a congressional record commending the campaign as well. So those were some great wins for the 1300 campaign. In terms of the MOU, it is developed in collaboration with the school district. Elk Grove and Natomas already have an MOU in place. And essentially with the MOU, you're committing to a 20 year-over-year increase in A through G eligibility applications to UC and the CSU partners. The next element there, the Executive Strategy Committee, that is a committee that's comprised of leaders in education, government officials, and other educational partners. And then a Brotherhood Action Committee, again, comprised of local and community partners. So now to the 9-point plan, and bear with me because this is going to take a little bit of time. So under the umbrella of establishing culturally responsive pathways, there's the A through G eligibility for all, and that's ensuring that all high school graduates, especially men of color, are eligible for post-secondary options by making A through G part of our default curriculum. 2 is ethnic studies, which we had approved as an elective a few board meetings ago. But this increases a student's sense of self, community, cultural competencies by incorporating ethnic studies as a high school graduation requirement. Number 3, place-based mentorship. This is providing a social and emotional academic conditions of students, particularly young men of color, by establishing relationship mentoring that's rooted in resistance, agency, identity, and culture. Under the second umbrella, the bridging the opportunity and achievement gap, number 4, increase the number of high-level counselors. This is allocating resources to hire additional counselors who provide academic and social emotional guidance, including the critical interventions and prevention counseling to our young men of color. The development of organizational racial equity assessment tool, that is the development of a tool that critically examines the inputs and outputs of educational initiatives, programs, curriculum, and budgets for impact and alignment with educational outcomes. And I would say that as an organization, we've already begun some of that work in terms of our 4 equity questions. Also our equity walkthrough tool. So we have many elements that are already listed in the 9-point plan. Number 6 is dual enrollment. So providing dual priority enrollment to increase access and inclusion for young men of color in post-secondary options, earning college units while progressing towards high school graduation. The last umbrella is to interrupt harmful narratives and practices. So number 7 is mandatory implicit bias training. And this is incorporating mandated regular implicit bias training for all of our educators on an ongoing effort to address racial inequities and unconscious bias that impact learning opportunities and outcomes for young men of color. The moratorium on school suspensions, shifting the culture of punitive disciplinary actions by implementing a moratorium on school suspensions, which will bring out approaches that aim to address the root causes of a student's behavior while not removing them from the classroom. Again, like we've continuously mentioned, when young people are removed from classroom, they are unable to learn. They don't have the direct instruction. So making sure that we're keeping people in class, specifically in this case, young men of color. And the last one, culturally responsive pedagogy, bridging the gap between teacher and student by helping teachers understand the cultural nuances that may cause a relationship to break down, which ultimately causes student achievement to break down. And with this professional development approach, this is really centered around the culturally responsive instruction. Any questions?
Questions from the board? Clark?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, it'll be real quick. Thank you, both Dr. Peace and Mr. Meyer, for your presentation. I've been asking for this for a few months now. It looks like we're on board with at least 2, maybe 3 of the 9-point plans. Let's see, 2, 5, and 8 a little bit, would you say? That we're kind of working on that right now, number 8?
And I believe that we're making progress with culturally responsive instruction. Ms.
Okay.
Emmington talked about A through G eligibility.
Okay.
So I think that there are pieces of this that we have already begun the work.
Right.
Obviously, we want to do all of them with fidelity, but I think that we're making great progress. So we're almost there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so. Can you talk a little bit more about number 4, the increase in number of high-level counselors? What does that entail?
Credentialed school counselors to be able to support academic and social emotional needs of students.
Would you say it would be more of counselors of color?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, so, and you say that we and Twin Rivers are the only ones that don't have a reso?
Correct.
Okay, I'm pushing for that. You know it, so.
And I want to add that there is not a financial commitment. You
Absolutely.
don't have to pay to be a part of the 1300 campaign. The only resources that a district would be responsible for are the costs associated with any of the 9 points here.
Yeah.
So money that we're already spending.
Absolutely. And then, Scott, I did have a question for you, and, you know, actually a program manager with the DCM program, and we've talked a little bit about how we can enhance that program a little bit more in Rancho, and I'm still on board. I mean, I've still got your back, whatever we need to do to get that going. I'm just kind of curious, and I know I can probably get this report on the other side, is what's the caseload of the DCM that we have now? I mean, how many students is he or she handling, and could there be more or room for maybe another DCM?
Yeah, so unfortunately, he resigned, I don't know, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and
Right.
he was solid. He was great.
Oh, yeah.
But he had about 12 on his caseload.
Okay.
But absolutely, that number, we were kind of just hitting our stride. This is our first year we've kind of done it with Fidelity. Like I mentioned, we had some challenges with hiring.
Right.
But FCCP, but I feel like it's more than just a diversion case manager. We've been working with, it's kind of brought us closer to the whole agency where if one can't make it, another will make it. Madeline's been great. She's been coming to our, basically every SARB we hold, and she brings an awesome perspective, a neutral perspective, because she's not part of the school. She's not the parent. So it's been great. But yes, to answer your question, absolutely. We have plenty of students that need that individualized help that we aren't resourced to do at our sites.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And then just looking at FCCP's website, it doesn't look like it's been done since I did it back in 2018. We may need to update that to highlight our DCM and RIJ program on there, so folks, if they know that, they're partners with us, that way they can look at it and see. So, but yeah, no, thank you for the presentation. I greatly appreciate it. I just think that we need to get rolling on this sooner rather than later. I do not want to be the last district to have a reso and support this thing.
Ms. Loftus?
It was kind of a newbie question of how we get rolling with the resolution, because A, I don't want to be the last one, and B, all of the data we just looked at points 100% to the fact that our young men of color need the wraparound support services that this project could provide. So, so my question in that is, how do we roll forward with a resolution and get that on a future agenda?
Yeah,
so
a board member just needs to request it.
Yeah, and we have consensus from the board. We have sample resolutions that have been provided by 1300, and then we also have samples from our neighboring districts that have already adopted. And I included those, so we have them. We don't have to start from scratch, and we can tweak it as we see fit. But with board's consensus, we can bring that back per board's request.
But just for clarification, we have to fully be behind this 9-point plan to move forward with the reso, right?
Correct. You do have to be committed to moving towards full implementation of the 9-point plan. Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question. How are we held accountable if we adopt the 9-point plan that the district is going to go through with achieving each of those steps?
That's a great question, Ria. And I don't know what 1300's process is for evaluating progress. I know that the goal is to send 1300 young men of color through the UC or CSU system. So that's one metric that can be evaluated. But I think that through the executive committee that was mentioned earlier, that's another level of accountability, just to see where we're at, and then also to have thought partners from other organizations and other school districts to help us meet those goals. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
I know this is just information, but if there's anybody in the public that wants to comment.
So what's the price tag on this? Right, so we have to hire new counselors, and we have to have training for 1,000+ employees?
As I was mentioning, the cost is associated.
Actually, I would encourage members of the public not to ask questions of staff.
We can record questions and ask
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you can list all of your questions out, and then we can, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just curious because she said that we need to go ahead and, which I think is I think this is needed. My concern going forward is if you have 1,400 people that need to go ahead and be trained and high-level counselors, which we're already trying to go ahead and get, and then I think some of the other ones, I think we've already met, like dual enrollment, 'cause I think they already try to do that with.
We do.
Yeah, so I think that's actually already been met. But the two that I'm worried about for us would be the high-level counselors and the mandatory training, and trying to go ahead and set aside funds for that. Because that sounds like an expensive price tag. So, that's all.
All right, thank you. Anybody online? No. Okay. All right, again, that was for information. So if we're finished with that topic, we will move on to topic 14, superintendent's report.
Yeah, even though we had fewer agenda items tonight, they were really informative agenda items. And I do want to encourage the board to take a look at the data piece that we provided, that we've been sharing in our data walks that Ms. Cabrera talked about earlier. That this information is very critical as we continue to move forward. And want to thank our team that has been at these data walks, because it does take, it takes several teams of us to be there. But I also want to thank our staff, our leaders, our community, and our families for coming out and expressing what, what their needs are, because each one of them is advocating for their child. Oh, no. Sorry. That's okay. That's okay. I want to thank our counselors, when they come forward and they talk about the work that they do. I think it's really important. Sometimes when we don't have the ability to get into classrooms or schools, it's nice to be able to hear from those, that are working in the different capacities in supporting our students, and especially those students in our alternative settings or educational options. So appreciate that. And I also want to congratulate Innovations Academy for earning their first WASC accreditation. That's huge, and they've been working on that for a while. Want to congratulate our 5 elementary schools that were honored tonight in Anaheim as California Distinguished Elementary Schools: Riverview STEM, Russell Ranch Elementary, Mangini Ranch Elementary, Sandra J. Gallardo, and Empire Oaks Elementary. So congratulations to their teams. Again, not an individual effort, but it is a team effort along with staff, families, and students. And I want to shout out to our high school academic decathlon participants and coaches. Folsom High and Vista del Lago performed very well at the Sacramento County competition. And I want to wish Folsom High well as they go on to state competition. But again, thank all those behind the scenes that have been working with these students during school, after school, and for the families that have been supporting our students as well. And just lastly, Board President Reed and Mr. Hui and I met with a consultant from CSBA to talk about the board self-evaluation process with them. And we are going to proceed with that, and we'll use the June 10th board study session as the time to look at that data. But we're going to move forward. The consultant that will work with us will be reaching out to each of our board members individually to talk about the process. But I think the agreement to do this every other year is a good one, and we'll be starting this year. So that'll be on our radar for this in the next few months. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 15, board member reports. I'll start with the student board member.
Thank you. I want to start by thanking the NorCal Buffalo Soldiers and Mr. Worley for coming to our meeting tonight. It was such a great way to commemorate Black History Month, and it was also really great to hear from our continuation high school counselors, so thank you for being here. I also wanted to take a moment to recognize the impact that Student Voice has had on our district. I was having a conversation last night with Mr. Ogden and Mr. Meyer last night at the Safety Advisory Committee meeting, and we were reflecting on how far our district has come in the last couple of years in advancing advancing equity. And for those who don't know, prior to my election on the board, I was part of a group of organizers alongside Jordan Kaitapu and Caroline Cochran, advocating for things like alternatives to punitive action, ethnic studies, the removal of school resource officers from our campuses, and much more. And we showed up to every single school board meeting for almost 2 years. We held protests, we held town halls, we attended committee meetings, and so much more. And not to toot our own horn, but mainly just to commend all of the students that supported us and got involved with our initiatives over that time. We as a district have made huge strides in those areas over the past couple of years. And I think a lot of it can be attributed to student voice and advocacy. And I hope that we continue to support youth organizers in our district to continue that work, having seen how transformative it can be. And then I just want to finish by saying that I think regardless of the price tag, any resource that will support our young men of color in our district are non-negotiable and they're necessary. So I think it's really essential that we, as a board, choose to make those investments with the intention of supporting our young men of color without being, overly concerned about a specific price tag. So that's it for now. Thanks.
Board Member Lofthouse.
I feel like I'm going to repeat a lot of the things you just said. And you always say it way better than me. Also, I want to thank the Northern California Buffalo Soldier presentation. I really enjoyed it, and it's fun to have an employee from our district as part of that as well. I appreciated hearing from the district counselors and what an integral role they play on our school sites in Folsom, Cordova. And I definitely look forward to increasing those numbers because they do play such a role in our district. Congratulations to Innovations Academy on their WASC accreditation. This is a result of an entire team effort and many hours, so congratulations to them. In terms of the vital signs presentation, I'm excited to watch the district as a whole really get into the weeds of this data and work together, kind of breaking down those silos and just approaching it with a whole child approach. So I appreciate all the staff work on that and look forward to seeing it full implementation at the school sites. And then lastly, I completed my first of 5 courses for the Masters of Governance program in the last couple weeks, and it was really exciting to get to know and engage with both superintendents and school board members from across the state with a major focus on equity for all students. So it was very enlightening to see what other districts are doing and exciting to see kind of the push we're making in our district is leading that. And I think that is it for tonight. Thank you.
Board Member Clark.
All right. Well, everybody pretty much said what I was going to say, but there are a few things that I wanted to talk about. I want to congratulate Board Member Lofthouse for your election to Region 6. I think you will be a great voice for the delegates, and I look forward to working with you. Also, Buffalo Soldiers in their presentation of colors, I really appreciate that. If you haven't had an opportunity to speak to any of them, especially Gerald over at Kenny Prospect, I would suggest you go out. He can tell you some stories. I've actually had the opportunity to spend time with that group for the past 2 years, going to their campouts, taking a bus trip with them, and just hearing about the history of the Buffalo Soldiers just kind of blew me away. My congratulations to all of the distinguished schools that are down in Anaheim, and I think this is probably the second year that I've missed it. I usually go to those things, so I'm there in spirit with them. And then I wanted to make an apology to the Black Families United event last week. I was down with the flu and kind of confined to the house, which drove me crazy. But I wish I could have been there. I hope that there is another session that's going to be coming soon. That way I can attend. And then also, thank you so much to Superintendent Collegian and the staff who attended the Greater Sacramento Urban League Black History and Beyond event at City Hall. It was powerful. That's the only word I can describe it. I mean, just from the choir singing, the spoken word from the poets, and even featured Cordova's drumline that closed out. Well, actually, we had a pretty funny comedian who got me a little nervous when he talked about IT and technology and everything, and I'm thinking, no, stop. But it was a great event. Talking to our CEO at the Greater Sacramento Urban League, he is on board to do it again in Rancho Cordova. So I look forward to that next year. With that being said, that is it for me.
Thank you. Board Member Lorette?
Yeah, wanted to thank the Buffalo Soldiers for being here tonight. I've been to several events where they've been present, and they always enhance the experience when you're there. So they're amazing, and they're amazing men that devote their time to really, educating our community on the legacy of their group, and I really appreciate them being here. Wanted to just kind of comment on the Dream Academy. Listening to some of their dreams, I was thinking, I want to continue to make sure when we hear the word culinary and nursing and things like that, that we're continuing to bring those programs into our schools to support what those dreams are. So I want to thank everyone for the programs that we have, and continue to look at, educational experiences that we can continue to add to our curriculum to, make those dreams for those kids come true. Did some site visits at a couple elementary schools, and it was very interesting to go to both Oak Chan and to Navigator to really dig into some of our funding and how they have been able to individually use them at their sites, and really how it's starting to make an impact, I think, on their campuses. And what was interesting is going onto both sites kind of within a week of each other on how different they are using that funding and how it's working for their individual students and their teachers there. So very happy about that. When we went to Walnut Wood and Innovation and Folsom Cordova Adult Ed, it was an amazing experience, and it's just really eye-opening when you get there of really how many services that we offer to everyone. And so want to highlight specifically for Adult Ed, a new class that they have a new phlebotomy class. So I would encourage especially our students that are maybe interested in the medical fields, some of our career academy, specifically at like Cordova High School, that is a pathway for them, that as soon as they graduate, they could go right into that class. It's 12 weeks. So wanted to highlight that. And there is the African American Family History Seminar coming up in March, and would encourage specifically our students to take a look into it. They do have classes specifically for students to research their family history. So just wanted to highlight that, and that's it from me.
Board Member Hui?
No report for me tonight.
Okay, and I have no report tonight either. So that takes us to agenda item 16, advanced planning. Our next board meeting will be on March 9th, 2023. The 12-month calendar is there for your reference. Suggested future agenda items are there for your reference. Are there any additional items that anybody wants to be added to the suggested future agenda items?
Mr. Reed, is this where I would propose that we bring forward a resolution for
Yes.
the 1,300?
That would be fine.
Then that would be my request.
Okay, I think we have a consensus on that. Okay. Anything else? All right. Well, then, we handled all of our closed session business at the first closed session, so there is no need to return to closed sessions. So that takes us to item 21, adjournment. If there's no objection, we will adjourn the meeting by unanimous consent. Is there I can't speak right now. Is there an objection? Hearing none, we are adjourned.